All right, you guys, so today we're going to do graphing logs day 2. It's going to be very similar to yesterday. We're just going to do a little bit more complicated example and then one that has an E in it. So we'll have to remember kind of what that means as we go. So let's get moving. Okay. Oh, I'm stuck. Okay. All right, so for our first example, we have y equals ln and then x minus 3 plus 1. So the first thing we have to do for this problem, same as yesterday, is rewrite it into a basic log. So what we need to do is change it to y equals, and then we do our ln. And then we have to remember that the base of the natural log is an e. So we put an e, and then we do basic x. So then we go straight to the table like yesterday. So the y is 0 and 1, and then the x is 1, and then your base. So for this case, our base is an e. So to remember what e equals, you're going to use 2.7. You don't want to use the e button just because you'll have too many decimals, so use 2.7 when you put it in your table. And then once you have your table started, we go to our transformations like we did yesterday. So I'm going to box in what my log is. So I got x minus 3 in my parentheses. So I'm going to take it to the x's and I'm going to do plus 3. So my x's are really 3 plus 1, so 4. And then 2.7 plus 3, which is 5.7. And then cross them out. And then on the outside, I just got a basic plus 1. So that goes to the y's. So 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Cross them out. And then you're going to graph your two outsides. Before we graph, we have to check for our asymptote. So our vertical asymptote, remember, is our parenthesis equal to 0. So we're going to take our x minus 3 equals 0. We're going to solve it for x. So you get x equals 3. So our vertical asymptote is at x equals 3. So now we're just going to graph it. So first I'm going to start with my vertical asymptote at x equals 3. Put your line in. I like to label it. And then we're going to draw our 2 points and make our graph. So our 2 points are 4, up 1, and then 5.7, so almost to the 6, up 2. So then remember from yesterday when we connect it, we get as close as we can to our asymptote and then shoot out into that curve. Okay, so that's one that you will see on your worksheet today that you didn't have yesterday. When you have an ln, make sure when you write it in the basic log version that you use the e as the base. Okay, so then the last one we're going to do is just a little bit complicated, and the way that it's set up looks a little bit different. Okay, so let's go through this one. So this one we got is y equals 2, then you have log base 2 of 3x plus 3 minus 1. So the first thing we have to do for this one is write out your basic log function. So log base 2 of x. So let's start just with that. So I got 0 and 1 on my y's, and then 1, and then my base is a 2 on my x's. So now this is where you have to be careful, and I know we talked about this when we did transformations, our big transformation unit, but inside your parenthesis is 3x plus 3. So what you have to remember to do is you have to pull it apart. So the equation that we used yesterday, it was the big one with the parenthesis, and it had a b, and then on the inside of the parenthesis it had an x plus something. So we have to pull this apart and kind of undistribute it. So 3x plus 3, you can think about it as like a GCF. So you take out a 3 and you have x plus 1 technically left over. So when you have something that you can't really tell what the vertical stretch is, or if it's going right and left, what it's really happening, you have to make sure you pull it apart. So now once we have it apart, we can do our transformations. So inside there's two things happening. There's going to be a divide by 3 and then a minus 1, because remember we always do the opposite. So first you're going to divide by 3, then you're going to do minus 1. So I'm just going to use decimals. So 1 divided by 3 is going to be, I'm going to just use 0.3. 2 divided by 3 is going to be a 0.6, and then cross them out. And then you're going to do your minus 1. So if you start, remember you have to start with the number you have. So you're going to do 0.3 minus 1, and you're going to get negative 0.7. Then you're going to do 0.6 minus 1, and you're going to get a negative 0.4. So you're going to cross those out. Then on the outside, you also have two things going on. So this is why I wanted to talk about this one, because this is the most complicated kind of problem you would have. So we have times 2 from the front number and then minus 1 from the number at the end. So we have 0 and then 2, cross them out, and then negative 1 and 1, cross them out. So here are our 2 points we're actually going to graph. Then we need to check for our vertical asymptote. So we're going to take our parenthesis. This is where you can decide where you want to take it from to solve it. You're going to get the same answer. I'm going to use just the original to solve. So you're going to get 3x plus 3 equals 0, and you're going to solve it. So minus 3, to get 3x equals negative 3, divide by 3. So our vertical asymptote for this one is going to be x equals negative 1. So this one's kind of interesting because once you pull it apart, the negative 1 actually just comes from the left and right transformation, which if it's x plus 1, it's minus 1. So if you remember when we did this before, you kind of just look at your shift left or right. So the minus 1 is in the table, so that's where kind of that minus 1 comes from, if you want to think about it that way. So now we go to x minus 1, put our vertical in, and then we just draw our 2 points. So we have negative 0.7, down 1. This one's going to be kind of close, negative 0.4, up 1. So same thing, get as close as you can to your asymptote and then curve it over. Okay, so today, guys, the only difference is going to be that problems are going to be a little bit more complicated. You could have potentially 1 up to 4 transformations like this one is. There's 4 transformations. And then you can also have, when you have an ln as your log, and you just have to remember that the natural log's base is an e. So when you go to use your table, make sure you use 2.7 as your base before you start doing your changes. All right, good luck, you guys. You have worksheet B to do today as your homework. It's pretty short, so it should be pretty straightforward. Let your teacher know if you have any questions, and we will see you soon. Thanks.